This is my prime example of people that's puppet masters trying to control the narrative.
It now appears if she wants to run for supervisor again, it will have to be as
Tiffany Henyard, the self-proclaimed supermayor of Dalton, Illinois, is watching her political empire collapse in real time. Once a dominant force in local politics, Henyard is mired in controversy and accused of lavish spending and questionable leadership. A scandal has left even her staunchest supporters in shock, signaling what might be the dramatic fall of one of Illinois' most polarizing political figures. The latest blow to Henyard's career unfolded during a high-stakes Democratic caucus in Thornton Township, an event steeped in history and tension. For the first time in decades, the party opted for a caucus instead of a primary to determine its nominees, significantly raising the stakes. Henyard, currently serving as both Thornton Township supervisor and Dalton mayor, sought to secure her place on the 2024 election ballot. But the night took an unexpected turn. Henyard's name was completely barred from the ballot after she failed to present a full slate of candidates, including critical positions like assessor and trustee. Without a certified assessor on her ticket, her candidacy was deemed invalid. Furious, Henyard accused her opponents of orchestrating foul play. The caucus, held at the Homewood Flossmoor Park District Auditorium, drew hundreds despite the cold weather. Inside, tensions boiled over as Illinois State Senator Napoleon Harris, also the Thornton Township Democratic committeeman, took charge of the event. Harris, who campaigned for the supervisor role, emerged as the night's big winner, securing the Democratic nomination and effectively sidelining Henyard from the race. When the results were announced, the crowd erupted, not in applause, but in jeers directed at Henyard. Some mocked her openly, shouting, "Nah, nah, hey, kiss goodbye," in what can only be described as a stunning political humiliation.
The Democratic caucus works right here in Thornton Township. You can also say that she flunked out because her name is not appearing on.
In a stunning setback for Henyard's political career, the historic Democratic caucus for Thornton Township delivered an outcome she wasn't expecting. For the first time in decades, the party opted for a caucus rather than a primary election, significantly raising the stakes. Henyard, who serves as both Thornton Township supervisor and mayor of Dalton, aimed to secure a spot on the 2024 ballot. However, her hopes were dashed dramatically. Henyard's name was barred from the ballot after failing to meet a crucial requirement, presenting a full slate of candidates for key roles like assessor and trustee. Without a certified assessor on her ticket, her candidacy was deemed invalid. Furious, Henyard accused her opponents of foul play. The caucus itself was chaotic, drawing hundreds of voters to the Homewood Flossmoor Park District Auditorium despite the cold. Inside, tensions ran high as State Senator Napoleon Harris, the Thornton Township Democratic committeeman, led the proceedings with precision. Harris, who also vied for the supervisor role, emerged victorious, securing the Democratic nomination and effectively sidelining Henyard. As the results were announced, the auditorium erupted, not in applause for Harris, but in jeers aimed at Henyard. Some attendees mockingly chanted, "Nah nah hey, kiss him goodbye," underscoring her political humiliation. This defeat leaves Henyard reeling, marking a significant and public blow to her once promising career. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's recent loss in the Thornton Township Democratic caucus was more than a political setback. It was a stinging public humiliation that has plunged her leadership into further disarray. The defeat has sparked frustration and outrage among Dalton residents, intensifying criticism of her tumultuous tenure in office. Critics were quick to seize on the moment, viewing it as yet another example of Henyard's unraveling leadership. Social media became a platform for fiery commentary, reflecting widespread discontent. One frustrated resident posted, "Dalton, please vote as early as you can. Everyone vote, make it too big to rig. Get her out of there." Another wrote, "Money and power corrupt. The more power, the more corruption," encapsulating the perception of Henyard as a leader increasingly out of touch with her community. The fallout from this loss has further highlighted the growing divide between Henyard and her constituents, many of whom have grown disillusioned by her actions in office. Allegations of financial mismanagement, excessive spending, and self-serving decisions have fueled the sentiment that her leadership prioritizes personal gain over public service. Residents frequently cite concerning examples, including her controversial $43,000 Amazon shopping spree, lavish taxpayer-funded trips, and apparent focus on self-promotion. The sense of betrayal has deepened as Henyard's administration faces mounting scrutiny, including an ongoing FBI investigation into alleged misuse of public funds. Critics argue that her actions reflect a pattern of arrogance and entitlement, evident in her public persona as the self-proclaimed supermayor and her combative interactions with trustees and residents. Beyond the political arena, the consequences of her leadership are being felt across Dalton. The town is grappling with declining public services, a ballooning budget deficit, and a growing mistrust in local government. Many residents feel that Henyard has failed to address their pressing needs, instead focusing on personal accolades and power plays. This latest political blow has emboldened Henyard's critics and galvanized frustrated voters. Calls for accountability and change are growing louder, with many residents seeing this as a pivotal moment to reclaim the future of their town. Some view Henyard's defeat as a signal of shifting political tides, with voters increasingly determined to bring in new leadership to address the town's challenges. Dalton residents, many of whom feel drained by the turmoil surrounding Henyard's administration, are now rallying for change. The loss has not only tarnished Henyard's political career, but has also underscored the deepening disconnect between her and a community struggling under the weight of her controversial tenure.
Calls for a change at the top in South Suburban Dalton.
Of course, we are talking about Mayor.
To fully understand the dramatic downfall of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, it is essential to revisit her rise in local politics. Once a promising figure, Henyard cultivated an image of being untouchable, branding herself as the supermayor. Balancing the dual roles of Dalton's mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, she wielded immense power and influence. However, this ambition soon drew criticism, as her motives and methods came under scrutiny. Accusations of prioritizing personal gain over public service began to surface, casting doubt on her leadership. Allegations of embezzlement, misuse of taxpayer funds, and extravagant spending eroded her carefully curated image. The controversies snowballed, with some of the most glaring examples involving her alleged misuse of public funds. Reports revealed a lifestyle of excess, funded by the very taxpayers she had pledged to serve. Lavish trips, extravagant dinners, and personal beauty services allegedly charged to public accounts fueled outrage in the community. The most shocking revelation came when Henyard was accused of spending over $33,000 on Amazon in a single day. For a town with a median income of just over $24,000, such spending was not only inappropriate but deeply offensive. One resident lamented this betrayal, expressing the widespread disillusionment felt by a community struggling to make ends meet. As these allegations mounted, Henyard's grip on her supermayor image began to falter. Critics pointed to her focus on self-promotion and personal luxury rather than addressing the pressing needs of Dalton. Beyond her lavish spending, her administration was plagued by financial mismanagement, a lack of transparency, and a perceived indifference to the struggles of her constituents. What was once seen as an ambitious dual role became a symbol of overreach and mismanagement. Henyard's inability to meet the demands of her positions painted a picture of a politician stretched too thin and overwhelmed by criticism. Public trust in her leadership eroded, as residents questioned her ethics and priorities. Ultimately, Henyard's dramatic fall from grace seemed inevitable. Her tenure left behind a legacy of broken promises, unanswered questions, and a community yearning for change. Once a rising star in local politics, she now serves as a cautionary tale of ambition derailed by controversy and misjudgment.
We're waiting Mayor Henyard to arrive. We'll give another 5 minutes.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard delayed the meeting with no
To fully understand the dramatic downfall of Mayor Tiffany Henyard, it is crucial to revisit her earlier days when she was a rising star in local politics. Henyard cultivated an image of being untouchable, branding herself as the supermayor. Balancing the dual roles of Dalton's mayor and Thornton Township supervisor, she wielded immense power and influence. However, her ambition soon drew criticism, as her motives and methods came under scrutiny. Accusations of prioritizing personal gain over public service began to surface, casting doubt on her leadership. Allegations of embezzlement, misuse of taxpayer funds, and extravagant spending eroded her carefully curated image, leading to a rapid unraveling of her political career. A preliminary investigation, led by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was hired as a special investigator, revealed the extent of the financial mismanagement under Henyard's leadership. Lightfoot's report highlighted that Dalton's general fund, which had once held a healthy balance of over $5 million in 2022, had plummeted to a shocking deficit of nearly $4 million by mid-2024. Lightfoot described the fiscal outlook as dire and identified Henyard's spending as a key contributor to the town's financial woes. The investigation uncovered numerous questionable expenditures, including police officer overtime payouts that far exceeded annual salaries. One officer earned over $100,000 in overtime alone, on top of their regular salary. Such excessive payouts, coupled with other eyebrow-raising expenses, painted a grim picture of fiscal irresponsibility. The most glaring example was Henyard's alleged $33,000 Amazon shopping spree in a single day, a staggering amount that left many residents outraged. For a town with a median household income of just over $24,000, these revelations were not just inappropriate but deeply offensive. Beyond financial controversies, Henyard's abrasive leadership style alienated colleagues and constituents alike. Tensions within the Dalton Village Board grew as trustees accused her of running the town like a dictatorship. Public meetings became battlegrounds where Henyard berated trustees and dismissed their concerns. In one infamous instance, she declared, "You all forget I'm the leader. They want to hear from the mayor, not the trustees that don't do nothing." This remark cemented her image as an arrogant leader dismissive of collaboration, further isolating her from allies and the community she served. Henyard's dual roles, once seen as a testament to her ambition and capability, became symbols of overreach and mismanagement. The promises of revitalization and progress she had made to Dalton's residents gave way to allegations of corruption, financial malfeasance, and self-serving decisions. Her administration's lack of transparency and her focus on self-promotion fueled public distrust. The consequences of Henyard's leadership failures were evident across Dalton. Public services deteriorated, emergency services were underfunded, and infrastructure projects stalled. Residents struggled with rising costs of living while witnessing their town spiral into financial chaos. Many voiced their frustration online, with one resident summarizing the public sentiment: "Money and power corrupt. The more power, the more corruption." Henyard, once seen as a dynamic and capable leader, became a symbol of dysfunction and betrayal. Henyard's financial mismanagement extended beyond questionable spending to systemic issues within her administration. Lavish trips, extravagant dinners, and personal beauty services allegedly funded by taxpayer money added to the public's outrage. Reports of her spending painted a stark contrast between her lifestyle and the struggles of her constituents. One resident lamented, "While we're struggling to make ends meet, she's out here living like a queen on our dime." The growing perception was that Henyard prioritized personal luxury over public welfare. Further complicating Henyard's position was an ongoing FBI investigation into allegations of corruption and misuse of funds. This federal probe intensified scrutiny of her administration, adding to the mounting pressure on her to resign. The scandal surrounding her $33,000 Amazon spree became emblematic of her tenure, a pattern of extravagant spending that ignored the town's financial realities. Henyard's combative relationship with the Dalton Village Board also drew widespread criticism. Trustees accused her of undermining their authority and disregarding their contributions. Public meetings frequently devolved into heated confrontations, showcasing a lack of collaboration and an erosion of trust among local leaders. Her authoritarian leadership style created a toxic political environment that alienated not only trustees, but also her constituents. As the investigation into Dalton's finances continued, the broader implications of Henyard's leadership failures became clear. The town's budget deficit ballooned, public services faltered, and community trust in local government reached an all-time low. Henyard's inability to address these issues only deepened the divide between her and the residents she was elected to serve. What had once been a community filled with optimism now symbolized political failure and corruption. The growing discontent among Dalton's electorate became increasingly vocal. Residents took to social media to express their frustrations, calling for Henyard's resignation and greater accountability from their elected officials. Many saw this as a pivotal moment to reclaim their town from what they viewed as a corrupt and self-serving administration. Calls for new leadership gained momentum as the town grappled with the fallout from Henyard's tenure. The erosion of public trust in Henyard's leadership marked a significant turning point in Dalton's political landscape. Once hailed as a promising leader, she became a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition and mismanagement. Her inability to connect with her constituents, combined with the financial scandals plaguing her administration, solidified her fall from grace. Henyard's political empire, once dominant, was now crumbling. The support she had from local stakeholders evaporated as more individuals openly questioned her legitimacy as a leader. Trustees, community leaders, and residents alike demanded change, signaling a shift in Dalton's political dynamics. New voices emerged, determined to restore transparency, accountability, and integrity to local government. The legacy of Henyard's leadership is one of missed opportunities and broken promises. What began as a promising political ascent ended in scandal, financial ruin, and widespread disillusionment. The investigation into her administration's spending, combined with her abrasive leadership style, left a community yearning for change. For Dalton residents, Henyard's downfall is a stark reminder of the importance of accountability and the dangers of prioritizing personal gain over public service. As Dalton looks to the future, the lessons from Henyard's tenure will undoubtedly shape the town's path forward. Residents, now galvanized by the need for change, are determined to hold their leaders accountable and ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Henyard's fall from grace underscores the critical need for ethical and transparent governance, especially in communities striving to overcome challenges and build a brighter future.
7 minutes. That's all it took for Tiffany Henyard to be out as the Democratic nominee for Thornton Township Supervisor, and she left here visibly.
Adding to her mounting woes, Mayor Tiffany Henyard has found herself embroiled in a heated legal battle with the Dalton Park District. The district accused her administration of deliberately withholding permits for critical park improvement projects, which had already been funded through large grants. These stalled initiatives included essential upgrades to recreational facilities, leaving residents frustrated over the lack of progress. Park district officials claimed these actions were politically motivated, alleging that Henyard targeted the district because it allowed her political opponents to hold meetings on its property. This controversy marked yet another troubling chapter in Henyard's already scandal-ridden tenure, painting a picture of leadership driven by personal vendettas rather than community welfare. Beyond withholding permits, reports surfaced that her administration had levied thousands of dollars in citations against the park district for routine maintenance tasks, such as spreading mulch on playgrounds and installing new equipment, practices that had never been penalized in prior years. Cleo Jones, president of the Dalton Park District, expressed dismay over what she described as petty and vindictive actions. Every year, we replenish the mulch in the parks to ensure the kids are playing on a safe surface, Jones said. Now we're being punished for it because of political games. Residents, already concerned about the lack of progress in public services, were left wondering how these disputes might further hinder their quality of life. The delay in park improvements raised deeper questions about Henyard's priorities, especially given that the stalled projects had been funded by grants intended to benefit the community. For many, this controversy became emblematic of her broader pattern of erratic decision-making, where personal grievances seemed to take precedence over the public good. The fallout from this feud added to Henyard's tarnished image and reinforced criticisms that she was increasingly out of touch with the needs of Dalton residents. Many worried that her combative leadership style was sacrificing the town's future for her political battles. The issue of denying permits for park improvements, particularly when they could enhance recreational spaces for children and families, cast her leadership in an even harsher light. Meanwhile, Henyard's political troubles continued to pile up. Her name had recently been removed from the Democratic ballot for Thornton Township Supervisor after failing to meet nomination requirements, and her mayoral position in Dalton was under constant scrutiny. Calls for her resignation as mayor grew louder, while rumors of a recall effort began gaining traction among frustrated residents. Once celebrated as a trailblazer in local politics, Henyard now finds herself at the center of a scandal of her own making. The investigation into her administration's financial mismanagement, alongside accusations of excessive spending, misuse of taxpayer money, and an increasingly autocratic leadership style, has left her political future uncertain. Reports have alleged that her administration has prioritized personal extravagance over public service. Examples include a controversial $33,000 Amazon shopping spree, trips to luxury destinations, and lavish dinners, all reportedly funded by taxpayer dollars. For a town with a median household income of just over $24,000, these revelations have deeply offended residents who are struggling to make ends meet. In addition to her financial controversies, Henyard's abrasive approach to governance has alienated allies, trustees, and constituents alike. Public meetings have often turned into battlegrounds, with Henyard reportedly berating trustees and dismissing their input. During one particularly infamous exchange, Henyard declared, "You all forget I'm the leader. They want to hear from the mayor, not the trustees." This comment, emblematic of her confrontational leadership style, only added to the growing perception that she saw herself as untouchable and unaccountable. The political fallout has been swift and unforgiving. With her removal from the Thornton Township Democratic ballot, Henyard's only remaining path to retain her position as township supervisor would be to run as a write-in candidate, a strategy with historically low success rates. Meanwhile, growing dissatisfaction among Dalton residents has intensified calls for her resignation as mayor. For many, her leadership has come to symbolize dysfunction and mismanagement, leaving the town in financial and political disarray. The controversy surrounding her administration has also sparked broader concerns about the state of local government in Dalton. Residents have reported declining public services, underfunded emergency departments, and ballooning budget deficits. Many feel that their concerns are being ignored by the very leadership they entrusted to address these pressing issues. The withholding of park improvement permits, combined with excessive citations against the park district, only added to their frustrations, as they saw these actions as emblematic of a leadership more focused on settling personal scores than improving their lives. As legal battles, financial scandals, and public backlash mount, Henyard's reputation continues to crumble. The FBI's ongoing investigation into alleged misuse of funds has further eroded trust in her administration, with residents increasingly questioning her ability to govern effectively. Public sentiment has turned sharply against her, with many taking to social media to voice their anger and call for accountability. One resident wrote, "Dalton deserves better leadership. Vote early, vote often, make it too big to rig. Get her out of there." Another commented, "Money and power corrupt. The more power, the more corruption," summing up the growing disillusionment among voters. Henyard's once promising career now appears to be at a crossroads. As a rising star in local politics, she was hailed as a leader capable of revitalizing Dalton and Thornton Township. However, her tenure has instead been marked by a series of missteps and scandals that have left the community grappling with financial chaos and broken trust. The political landscape in Dalton is shifting rapidly. Residents, fed up with Henyard's leadership, are calling for change and exploring new options for governance. The rumors of a recall effort signal that many are unwilling to wait until the next election to hold her accountable. Meanwhile, political figures once aligned with Henyard are distancing themselves, further isolating her within the local power structure. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard has shown no signs of stepping down. Some supporters argue that she is the victim of political sabotage, targeted by rivals intent on undermining her. However, her critics contend that she has brought this downfall upon herself through poor decisions, personal vendettas, and an inability to manage power responsibly. The rise and fall of Tiffany Henyard is a cautionary tale of unchecked ambition and leadership disconnected from the needs of the people it serves. Her tenure, once filled with promise, is now overshadowed by controversy and scandal. As Dalton residents continue to grapple with the fallout of her leadership, the question remains, can Henyard salvage her political career, or is this the end of her time in public office? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Is Tiffany Henyard a victim of political sabotage, or has she only reaped what she sowed?